thank you for pressing play and for listening to me today. I am not a doctor. I've not been to school for anything I'm about to share. I have just had experience. I've been through life. And so these are some things that I have come to understand and learn for myself. And so if there's something that I could do to help another person to recognize and to see these things about themselves and to work through and process, then that is what I want to do. So what I want to talk about today is something that I've become aware of, and I was feeling and processing a lot of it today. And that is the fear of abandonment. So, about 5 years ago, I was really stepping into learning about myself and what behaviors I had within myself that needed to change. And I was listening to somebody. I can't even tell you who it was. I'm sure I have it in my journal somewhere, but I was listening to someone and they were teaching about tapping your body, and it was really interesting. It's so fascinating to learn about that. If you have any if you want to learn about that, go Google it and watch videos, but it's really quite amazing. But this woman, she was walking us through an experience where she was having us tap different places and say different things. And I can remember she had us tapping the top of our head, and she was saying some words. And when she said the word abandonment, I started to just bawl. I just started crying, and it was so out of the blue. I was like, okay, well, I must have something going on with abandonment. I had never realized. I had never thought about it. I did not even know that that was something that was in me. But the fact that, just that word and tapping, it just sparked it, and I just started bawling. So it was at that time that I recognized that, okay, maybe I've got some abandonment issues within me. And I was like, but I've never been abandoned. It's not my parents were always there. I've always been taken care of, And so I was like, that I just had a hard time with accepting that I was abandoned, or that I had abandonment within me. And so through the years, as I have learned more about abandonment, and that we have these things, we have these patterns and these behaviors that we get stuck in, that are created from these events, truly, where we felt abandoned, and we begin to have behaviors and patterns that just come from them. So I began to look back and think about, okay, where have I possibly been abandoned in my life? Where have I felt that way in my life? I was journaling a little bit about it today because it was coming up again, and I recognized that if you think about it, I was a 2-year-old little girl whenever my mom had my little sister. And my little sister came into this world with a head full of hair and feisty and getting in everything, and she was a handful, and 2 years after that, when I was 4 years old and she was 2, another baby was born. And 2 years after that, when I was 6 years old, I had my 4-year-old little sister who was into everything, my 2-year-old little brother who was into everything, and a brand new baby. And so from the time that I was 2 until I was 6, I mean, I was so quiet and I was so shy. And I can remember being, 3, 4, 5 years old and like hiding behind my mom, climbing up under her skirt to hide so that nobody would look at me, talk to me, so that I wouldn't have to talk to anybody, because I was just so shy. I didn't want to be looked at. I had that fear within me. And so as a child, I think back and I'm like, I can imagine, I could see how a little child at that age, being 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just feeling that feeling of just being alone. I have so much compassion and so much love and so much grace for my mom and for my dad, and that they were such amazing parents. And it's like I have so much grace for the areas that, it's like we all do the best that we know how to do. And so it's like I have no hard feelings or bad anything. I just recognize that for myself, that I have always pushed down those feelings because I'm worried more about my parents. I'm worried more about how other people may feel. And it's like I have always ignored the fact that within me, within my little person self, I had that feeling of I was just literally sometimes in closets, like truly, just coloring and cutting out paper dolls and just being alone. And so, that would create a feeling of abandonment, of, anytime I have really strong feelings or anything that, that I need to process, I just didn't know how. And, the adults around me were just busy and unavailable. And it's becoming aware and doing different for the children who are coming up. So, you might think, oh, well, that happens to everybody. We're all kids. And it does. It does happen to everybody. It happens to everybody who has siblings, younger siblings. Like, you may be getting all the attention and then new siblings come and you just don't get as much attention. And so, so that's not really abandonment, right? It depends on how we process things. So I'll share a few more experiences so that you can understand how these feelings of abandonment got like deeper and deeper within me. So my mom and dad, whenever I was young, they would take separate cars to church because my dad a lot of times had to be at church early. And so my mom, with 6 kids, 5 to 6 kids, she would have to drive us to church separately. And so then after church, if they had not communicated well, then they could possibly leave and think that like I was with the other one. And so I was left at church. Like, I know definitely one time I was left at church, and it could have happened more than once. But I can remember being a child and being left at church by myself. And I imagine my little 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old little self, totally shy, not wanting to talk to anybody, afraid to talk to anybody, not wanting to be spoken to because of just fears that I had in me by that time. Like, I was abandoned. I mean, truly, like, and so I had to find help. I had to find an adult that I knew who could bring me home. And I did, and it was all fine and everything. But, you know, then like I can't remember what happened, but I can imagine getting fussed at, because I wasn't like where I was supposed to be. And someone had to bring me home. Um, and maybe not. Um, so then another time, a few years later, and like I guess it was probably middle school, junior high school, we would go on field trips and have dances and things, and there were two different occasions whenever I I was the last person to get picked up. And this was before cell phones, and so there was like no way to communicate. There was no way to like track someone down to come and pick me up. And so, sitting there all by myself with the teacher, and there could have been one other kid, I don't know, but I just can remember being like the last one being picked up. And that creates a feeling of like I'm all alone here, and no one is there, and it's like um and I totally get it. My mama had 6 kids, and busy with like life and church and just everything. And at the same time, I have grace with her. And at the same time, I have to look at my young child within me who experienced that, and who at the time there was so much fear. There was so much fear of being all alone. All of those times, it brings up so much fear and so much anxiety. Like, oh my gosh, I am going to be left alone. Like, and when is someone going to come and get me? And so that, like, that was in me, because it's not something that, whenever it's not something that gets processed. It's not something that gets talked about. I mean, I never told my mom, how upset I was or what feelings I was feeling. And she, I'm sure didn't even think to ask. And, because life is just life, and it's just happening, and we're all busy, and we all just are trying to get from one place to another. And, that's just, it's life, But my little person, that was just like more reinforcing of just being alone and being forgotten, and just a feeling of abandonment. And so I learned, so through that, I learned to pretty much abandon myself. I've learned that, whenever I have really strong feelings and emotions and stuff come up, I've a lot of my life, I've repressed it, and I've abandoned myself. I've not felt it. I've not dealt with it. Because I'm always looking outside of myself at like wanting to make other people feel good at the expense of myself. And so I've learned to abandon myself. Something else that came up, which is, I think the biggest, deepest root fear of abandonment is truly the abandonment from God. It's like I've learned that all of these people in my life, like I can't trust that they're going to be there. I can't believe like I've been left alone so many times. It's just happened many times in my life, and I've just learned that like that's what happens. And so I have had this deep deep fear of being abandoned by God, of never being good enough to where I'm going to be able to be in his presence again one day. That is a deep fear within me that came up earlier today. I just started sobbing and bawling because I realized that it all goes back to that fear. The fear that I am not going to get to be with my Heavenly Father again one day because I am so not enough. I will never be perfect. I'm just not good enough to be in his presence. And because of that, there's that abandonment. Like, it's like he is going to abandon me, that I'm never going to be able to see him ever again. Because of my choices, because of the things that I have done or I do or continue to do, because of my weaknesses, my sins, whatever. Like, I have this fear of like this punishment and just abandonment from God, because that is what I've learned. It's a pattern that I've learned from people, from being in this world, from being born and living in this world and the experiences that I've had. And so that's all that I know. And I put those characteristics that I'm familiar with, I like project them onto God. Like, God is like that, and that I'm gonna be abandoned by him and not be able to be with him. And I've had that fear. I didn't realize it. I didn't realize how deep it was until it came up earlier today, and I just was crying so hard just feeling it. And I was just like, God does not abandon us ever. He has never abandoned me. He will never abandon me, and he does not abandon me. Like, he has always been here. I personally make choices that cause myself to be unable to see him. You know, it's like today in my life, I feel like I see him all the time. And I look forward. Like, I felt earlier today, as all of this was coming up, I'm just like, I'm facing him. I want to be with him. And as I continue to make choices that brings my positive polarity, my spirit, like as I make choices that are bringing me closer to him, I see him more and more in my life. And I know that at some point, I don't know when, I don't know how, I don't know, I don't have the answers, but I know that there is going to come a day where I'm going to see my Father, my Heavenly Father, face to face and be in his presence. Like, that gives me chills to think about, because I have had such a fear that's not going to happen. And it's like today I just received so much peace within my soul that it's already happening. He has manifested himself in my life over and over again. And as I continue to make choices to bring myself closer to him, and it's just such simple little things. I mean, it truly is. It's just choosing water, just being outside in the sun, just enjoying having gratitude. Like, fasting is being like a really huge thing for me right now, because I'm in an alternate day fast. And so that is like, it just opens my spirit up to him, and to be able to see him and to feel so much, I don't even know what. I mean, I'm just I'm not abandoned, you know? And and as I cried that up, it's like all those abandonment wound, all those abandonment wounds just cried out of me. And it's like I just felt so much forgiveness and grace and for my parents, and I felt so much sadness and hurt for my little child within me that's been holding on to those wounds, and that's been feeling like I'm going to be abandoned by my heavenly Father, like I have felt abandoned at times in my life, you know. And it's like it's just not true. It's not true. And it's so freeing to have that understanding, and not only to have an understanding, but like to be given like a knowing, like in that meditation and in that crying and in the feeling came a knowing within my soul that I'm not abandoned. We're not abandoned. Even if you have had experiences in your life where people have left you, and even if you had experiences as a child where your parents have left you, God has never left. He's been here the whole time, and he will be here the whole time. And it's truly him. It's like he like he's the one that matters in our life. You know, it's like we're all born into families with parents and siblings, and we have friends and family, and we just have all these people, and it's like they can all abandon us, and it's okay. It's okay whenever we have God, because he's not going to abandon us. And we can feel the hurt. We can feel and remember the experiences that we've had that are in our bodies, that needs to be recognized, that needs to be processed and released and freed, and so that we can come to a knowing for ourselves that we're good. It really, it just filled me with so much peace and so much joy and just so much happiness that, I mean, I'm a different person having gone through that experience this morning. And I'm so grateful for that. And I just want to help other people to recognize these things and to feel these things for yourself. Like, we don't have to carry so much heaviness. We don't have to carry so much anxiety about abandonment. You know, it's something that I have carried within me my whole life, is just this anxious feeling for so many different reasons that I'm coming to really truly understand and learn and be able to process out of me. And it's just so many of these things, and it's happening pretty quickly now. Like, things are just moving through because I'm able to recognize it, see what it is, understand it, and it just passes through, you know. Whereas in the past, I have had to kind of do a little bit more work because I haven't understood all these things. And so it's, you know, self-improvement, self-growth is truly so important for us, because until we can be healed, until we can feel God in our heart, and until we can let go and just surrender and release all of these things, I mean, we cannot serve others in a way that we can with all that of it out of us. You know, I mean, we still do serve, we still do give a lot, we still can do a lot. I've done a lot in my life with all of this stuff in me. You know? I mean, I've done a lot, and I've done it in all of this and all of this heaviness, and so I look forward. I'm like, what is God bringing me into? Like, what is he doing? He is doing a mighty work within me, and it's exciting for me because I'm like, where's he taking me? Where's this going to go? Because I don't know. I'm I'm working and I'm practicing hearing him better every single day. And and I'm just so grateful for the ways that he just manifests himself to me, and the ways that he shows me very clearly that I'm on the right path, through dreams, through other people, through nature. Like, it's really quite amazing. That's why I know that he's already manifesting himself. I see him everywhere. I'm in his miracles. Like, I'm in it. And I look forward to the day whenever I'm in his presence and I feel him and I can wrap my arms around him and actually just see him again one day, face to face. That's going to be an awesome day. But today I feel him, and I'm grateful for his presence. I'm grateful for his spirit. I'm grateful that I'm in this work, and that, I mean, it's a joyful way to live. It truly is. And so, let me know if you heard anything that helped you. Let me know if you have any questions, if you need help with anything, if there's anything that I can do to help you, to assist you in what you're going through. Like I said, I'm not a professional, but I do have a lot of experience with a lot of different things, and I learn a lot, and I just love to share the things that I learn. So thank you for holding a space for me to share my thoughts and to share my experiences. And I just hope that it just helps one of you out there on your path.